Well, hello and welcome, Nikhil and others. I'm back after a while. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing from from our viewers' perspective, but anyway, I mean, others deserved a break. We are
Yeah.
expecting Gurkirat to also join us in due course, but meanwhile, we'll get started with Nikhil. Nikhil, first up, how are you? And how has the last few days been without us interacting?
Yeah, it is tough. I missed your rants on Bangladesh, which I'm sure we will get in the coming time. But a few very good games, few very good results, and again, my team is doing well in South Africa. So yeah, all's good.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the South Africa fans have every reason to rejoice after a commanding win in the last two games. Uh, okay, before further ado, we'll just move on to the game today where Australia will play Netherlands at Delhi, a venue which started showing its true colors in the last game when Afghanistan steamrolled England. Uh,
Yep.
Nikhil, are you expecting something similar, or do you expect that Delhi will go back to being a flat wicket?
Yeah, reading pitch is as difficult or as easy as reading life. The moment you think something, something else happens. But from what we hear in the pitch report, it's the used surface. The surface was used for the Sri Lanka South Africa game. But Vakarunis explicitly said that it is far less grass, looks a bit dry. So uh, again, Netherlands will hope that they can emulate what Afghanistan did, at least with the bat first, and then they can see where they can go with the ball. Uh, the one thing that I will really give Netherlands a lot of credit for is their preparation. It is something Logan Webber also said in the pre-match presser that consistency in preparation is something that's very valuable to them, and you can see that in the way they go about things in terms of getting the right bowlers on, getting the right plans, and that's really heartening to see for a side to be able to do that good homework and being able to pull them up very well. So hopefully, Australia isn't a team that usually slip up against teams that they haven't faced enough. I think last it happened was 2007 Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
Can't remember any other game apart from that. But
and that was a
maybe
T20
today,
World Cup. Yeah.
yeah, it was a T20 World Cup. So maybe today is the change. But
Yeah.
again, it looks they'll have to really put in a very good show, and I hope they do. Results are secondary.
Hmm. So, I mean, looking at how Netherlands are set up. Do you feel Delhi is the venue where they would have fancied facing Australia, or if they had to pick a venue, which venue would that be in terms of them being a good matchup for Australia?
Yeah, actually, you can think of quite a few venues where you feel that okay, a venue like Chennai also might have been handy, but then there is a bit more bounce there. In Delhi, there isn't much, as compared to other venues. And see, the good thing with Netherlands is they have the ingredients that have stopped Australia in the past. So Australia's opening bowlers haven't taken a wicket. Netherlands opening batters haven't scored a lot of runs. Now today could be the perfect match in that sense if they continue with that pattern. Left arm spin has troubled Australia, and Roloff van der Merwe has played at this venue. He's also taken 8 wickets at the venue, so he's also there, a vital part of that setup. So there are a few things that Netherlands have in terms of not just the homework, but
Hmm.
in terms of matchups as well. So yes, Stark को शांति से खेलना पड़ेगा. There is he took a hat trick in the warm up game as well. But see, that is it is what it
Yeah.
is. You can't get away by not playing the best bowlers. So let's see. It's a very exciting prospect where you're not hoping for a Netherlands win, but you can see where they can trouble Australia.
All right. While we wait for the toss, Nikhil, any changes, expected changes in the 211s?
I'm very keen to see how long they go on with Vikramjit up top. Whether they go or have the temptation to go, you know, get Wesley Baresi into the setup, or they feel that no, let's give Vikramjit a few more games because he's come stuck against spin. Australia have Maxwell and Zampa who will really test him. And even before they get to those two, Stark is someone that will really be looking forward to bowling to Vikramjit. So that battle is always there. So that's the one change that I expect, if at all it happens from Netherlands. From Australia, I think Head could be the guy who comes in, maybe at the expense of Marnus. So that could be something to look out for.
Yep. Now would be a good time to introduce the third member of our panel. Gurkirat, finally, I hope the power outages are sorted now.
Yeah, some few one of the fuses went off, so I had to just fix it and come back. Voltage
Yeah,
fluctuation
and
can
people,
happen, but
our regular viewers would be very happy that now you're back to being an expert and not being an anchor. ये छोटे मोटे काम, we are again back to handling it ourselves. Gurkirat,
the viewers have let me
how do
down.
you?
I was going to ask you for a raise कि मैं double job कर रहा हूँ.
इसीलिए तो मेरे को वापस आना पड़ा, मैंने कहा भाई रुक जाओ, these things are getting out of hand. So how do you see this game panning out? Are you willing to give Netherlands a chance?
Then Australia batting, just to give you some
Australia.
context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be really unfair to say that they won't have a chance, because we have seen how, once you've gotten early wickets against Australia, teams have been able to contain them, and they've gotten
Hmm.
stuck, especially the number 3 and number 4. So there is a chance, but that chance will depend upon how can they contain the openers and then build from there. Uh, Hopefully, this is a game where Australia probably look at some runs from maybe Maxwell, maybe Stoinis, or English got a 50, but they'll probably want something more to come from those guys. And yeah, you'd want one of Marnus or Smith to have a good innings out there. Smith, I'm not sure if that discussion has been touched upon or not,
No,
but
no, we are still waiting.
Smith's,
अभी शुरू ही किया है भाई.
yeah, because Smith has not looked himself for some time across formats. It's something we discussed in previous Australia games as well, that he's just found at time. I'm feel like making this comparison, but he's just somehow been like Ajinkya Rahane in terms of getting a start and finding a random way to get out of nowhere. Now that might come as a very harsh comparison, but I'm just talking of the dismissals that have happened, whether it's the Ashes, the WTC, the BGT, or just he's looked like he cannot get out, and then he's found ways to get out. So yeah, Australia would want ki now that they're batting first, hopefully, a big score can come from somebody but the openers.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking of the last time when Ajinkya Rane and Steve Smith were mentioned in the same line. But yeah,
2018 IPL.
yeah,
Both
both
of
played for
them were playing
Rajasthan,
for
Rajasthan. Yeah,
Rajasthan.
yeah, so, swapping captaincies and all. So, Nikhil, Australia batting first. It was an obvious call, right? I mean, both teams would have wanted to bat first, given that the chances of an upset, if I can call it, are more if Netherlands are defending a total.
Whichever way you want to look at it, people have batted first in both the games so far, and they've gone on to win the game. So that is again something that would have played. That okay, let's make the best use of the surface. And interesting change, no head. Stonis has an
Yeah.
eagle, so green comes in. So that is something we can talk about later. But yeah, if they are expecting a better surface or a dry surface, I think it also puts enough onus on Netherlands to keep them to a score of
Hmm.
again. It is a very very big if, क्योंकि second innings then Stark will bowl with the new ball. So there has been some movement early on. So that 10-15 overs, it is test match. Leave a lot, but all of that will come down to the total that they are chasing. So I still feel there is a chance, but let's see how it plays out.
Yeah. There'll be we will actually touch upon Australia's top order and what can Netherlands do to stop them in our various sections, which are X factors and key battles, which are to follow later on. But right now, Gurkirat, I want to touch upon something that you brought up. That is Steve Smith. Now, it's not just Steve Smith. I mean, Steve Smith, of course, has been not been himself, like you said, across formats. But one other player who is not, has performed as per the expectations is Glenn Maxwell. So, in terms of their role in this team, who do you think is a bigger headache for Australia right now in terms of their form? Is it Steve Smith or Glenn Maxwell?
Has to be Smith, because Maxwell's pulling is he's doing more than enough with the ball to still, you know, command a place. Even as a, if you don't want to see him as a batting all rounder, then even as a bowling all rounder, he's doing enough. Also, if you look at roles, what you look at Maxwell to do is probably help you finish strongly in the last 15. You don't expect him to build an innings, and to finish strongly, you need your top 3 or top 4 to do enough or set up a sort of a platform wherein Maxwell or Inglis, now today's it is Green, but Stoinis can come in and then play out those big hits. So yeah, I mean, a bigger headache you'd surely say is Smith rather than Maxwell, because you still know that okay, Maxwell, even if he doesn't do anything with the bat, he's playing as a proper fifth bowler
Yeah.
at this point of time and doing more than enough. So
Mm,
yeah,
mm,
bigger headache is definitely Smith. And you'll just also you can't really do much about the way Maxwell tends to bat, because that is the way he's played those innings where he's taken the game away from the opposition. And sometimes those innings will also come across as very stupid, like what happened in that game against Pakistan. The platform was set so well for him, the pitch was to his liking, it's a venue where he's played more than enough, he knows how to play, and then he just goes out smacking the first ball. Maybe
mm,
could have taken a couple of deliveries or maybe any over because there was enough time, but it is just what you get. Those high variances is what you get with Maxwell from the bat. But you
mm,
don't expect Smith to give you high variances. You expect that okay, once he's taken a start, he can take the game to the opposition, or can set it up for others around him. But right now he's not doing any of those roles.
mm. Nikhil, do you agree? I mean, as is Smith the obvious answer here? Because the way I see it is Maxwell has one of the very important responsibilities of taking down spin, something that Australia have struggled with in this World Cup so far. So while Maxwell is adding more than enough with the ball, but Australia would need Maxwell the better as well at some point of time.
Yeah, very sure they will. But just as Paji said, I think the role and the responsibility that you have on Smith, that will even that will only grow once you have a head back, because then Manas is the guy who goes out, and then Smith plays an even vital role at this point of time, because Abhi, you still have English who scored decent, has had a few hits, and Maxwell at this point of time is coming still very low in terms of with the bat. So if they're batting first, like we saw in that Bangalore venue, where Marsh really got stuck at one end. I don't know how many people will say कि भाई century mara, but still he got stuck versus off spin. Now that is
Yeah.
a matchup where you felt Maxwell could have done great, and as Paji said, he was my captain that day. First ball duck. I have all the love and hate, but that's what you get with Maxwell. So I'm not
Mm,
expecting a lot of consistency there, but impact knocks. So at this point in time, Smith is probably the bigger worry going deeper into the tournament, because Maxwell's role with the ball is so far doing the job. But yeah, some runs are always
yeah,
handy from
yeah.
Maxwell's end.
Yeah, yeah. But just to finish this chat up, what I feel is they still have an option in Labuschagne to replace Smith with, in case his form just never comes in, and when Head is back, they still have that option. But Maxwell is someone they have to have in the 11,
Wow.
and this is
Yeah.
where I feel that they would at some point of time would want him to click, especially when it comes to the bigger stage. Okay, enough about
Yeah.
this. Let's talk about the other team as well, Netherlands. Now, uh, one player that actually got them into the World Cup single-handedly is Bas de Leede. And against Pakistan, again he in the first game itself he showed that why he is a class apart than probably all the other Netherlands players. But since then his form with the bat has taken a dip, Nikhil. What does it come down to? And B, do you feel this is a game where he actually have does not have a lot of bowlers at the other end who can trouble him, so probably can play an impact knock?
Yeah, I think he's also gotten a few starts. Be it the New Zealand game where he got out, holding out to long on, and then other games the left arm pace has also troubled him. There was a game where he got played a cut shot, I think, and he got the extra bounce there. So he's the kind of guy who they look to bat deep. And with the openers not coming off, he's again playing a very, very vital role, following Colin Ackerman, who's
Hmm.
again better placed facing pace. So
Hmm.
that even makes that role even more critical, because today I expect uh, Australia also to throw in spin very early, because I think it was Colin Ackerman only who's looked to sweep Iftikhar Ahmed and got out very first ball. So when you have people up top who have very designated matchups ready, somebody like a Basil, it becomes even more critical to hold and end up for you. So I think
Hmm.
today he's still bowling first, which is something that even from a point of view of impact, he'll be able to bowl in the right phases, and hopefully he gets a three for to then just have that confidence that play out
Hmm.
stuck. I think the single most reason or objective at this point of for me is play out Stark, and then you see where you are going. Because he is the kind of guy who can run through sides. So
Yeah.
that for me is the biggest worry at this point of time.
Yeah, and we saw him taking the hat trick against
Yeah,
his very opposition in the warm up game.
exactly.
Uh, yeah, and the two types of bowlers that actually Bas de Leede has struggled a little bit is the left arm pace and slow left arm. Australia do not have a slow left arm bowler, and they have Mitchell Stark. So if at all he finds a way to sort of cope Mitchell Stark, then I fancy him having a decent game today. Okay, let's move on to the first sort of subsection in our preview, and we'll start with key batters first. Yep, starting with Gurkirat. I mean, what are the battles that you have your eyes on?
So one battle is a pretty obvious one, like how Nikhil mentioned, playing out Stark for the openers, and you'd really hope that the openers can do something. Like barring that 50 that Vikramjit scored versus Pakistan, runs haven't come from the top. Ackerman had a decent knock versus New Zealand. Bas de Leede had a decent knock. The others have chipped in, but the openers haven't done anything. So that is one battle. But uh, with Australia batting first, if the pitch is anything like it was during the Afghanistan England game, you could expect some turn on offer, and with that, you'd expect Netherlands to come in with spinners up front. Maybe, who knows? They've bowled Aryan Dutt early on, but today could be an option where they could throw the ball to Van der Merwe as well, because Marsh has sort of struggled. So maybe that battle of the Australian openers versus those spinners, if the pitch is dry or is
Mm,
offering turn, could be an interesting one, because that is where I think if they get Marsh early, then they'll have to bring in. Then Smith comes in the game early, and he's also not been a great starter versus left arm spin in recent
mm,
times. He's
mm.
just found that angle difficult to maneuver with. It's not that his defense is very weak. He's just sometimes stuck against it. So yeah, the Australian openers versus Netherlands spinners, and the Netherlands openers versus Stark mainly.
Yeah, Nikhil. So, just touching upon what Gurkirat has said, and as always, he's been pretty comprehensive. So, do you feel they can actually hold off for Vandermeer towards the for the Australia's middle order, who have been very susceptible to left arm spin, given that all of them are righties, and instead just stick to their plan of bowling Aryan that up front and first change can be Colin Ackerman? Because, like you mentioned, Mitchell Marsh did not take down off spin in the last game, and Warner, it's a decent enough matchup.
Yes, yes, completely agree. And again, the point here is when you have Aryan that bowling, he's able to bowl well against both the lefties and the right-handed batters. And in the last game, I remember a few instances where Iftikhar got the ball to bounce big on Marsh. And that I
Mm,
think is something that both Aryan and Ackerman can exploit there. So you would want a risky horizontal bat shot earlier. And if you're able to tie Marsh down, it will put pressure on both ends to take that risk. And that could really lead to a lot of misses or chances early on. And if not that, I'll still want them to throw in a Paul Van Meekeren very early, because
mm,
Paul Van Meekeren right through this World Cup has been able to hit the stumps and has bowled at a very good line. So I think Marsh is someone who loves to play the pickup shot and is very severe on the pull shot, on anything that's short. So if Paul Van Meekeren is able to just hit his line right, bowl very straight at Marsh, look to get him edge or LBW very on or a drag on early, then that could really set the game up, because as you said, you then have Rulev to target the plethora of righties, after that. And Rulev is a good enough and a smart enough bowler to know what lengths to bowl. So, and also that given it's a daytime, you still expect some help for spin or some stoppage, and that could really set the game up for Australia and even Netherlands.
And just a little
Uh,
little bit to plug in, all of Roloff, Mitch Marsh and Warner have played for the
Excellent.
local franchise at this venue, so
Yeah.
it could be something to look at. But what Nikhil mentioned about those horizontal cross batted shots would be very interesting to look at how the bounce is at Kotla, because post the first game, the bounce has become slightly lower. The pace has remained, but the bounce has gone slightly lower. You saw in that Afghanistan versus England game that once the new ball was played out after the first 10 15 overs, there weren't a lot of cross batted shots square of the pitch, purely because the bounce wasn't as high. So if the bounce is not as high, then those cross batted strokes, or just short square of the wicket could result in a few inside edges being played on as well.
Hmm. Yep, and just to throw in a few numbers around, we touched upon Van der Merwe against Australia. So Australia in this World Cup have been, as a team, have had a run rate of 4.4 against two left-arm bowlers, which is the second lowest after, of course, Bangladesh, who have lowest numbers against most bowling types anyway. And even as a batting average, they're averaging 26.5, which is only better than Netherlands and Afghanistan. So yeah, I mean, Australia's matchup against Rule of Van der Merwe would be something which would be very interesting in this game. Without further ado, let's move on to the next section, which is the X factors. Yep. Before we reveal the X Factor names, guys, those who are watching, please do like this stream. It helps us grow this channel. It helps us, being motivated to produce more good content. And of course, I mean, I've been listening to few previews earlier, and Gurkirat is putting in some totkas of a number of likes, saying so and so. But I'll just win that and be very honest. It just helps us grow this channel. So please just support us,
Yeah.
because we have a loyal base who likes to listen to us, and we just want that loyal base to grow so that we can engage a lot more. Okay, with that, Gurkirat, X factor for this game.
I think they're pretty straightforward given the discussions that we've had. Hard to look past Warner today for Australia, given Australia are batting first. It's a dry deck, so it's either Warner or Stark. I'm going for Warner because I feel, again, he'll have to set up the game. If he gets out, then Netherlands have a chance of restricting Australia. So Warner for Australia, and then yeah, feel like going for Van der Merwe again, because bowling first. Uh, had Netherlands been batting first, I would have gone for Scott Edwards because of how the pitch is in terms of being slightly dry. So you would feel there will be turn, and he's, I think, their best bet against spin. So yeah, Warner and Van der Merwe, I feel.
Hmm. Good choices there, Nikhil.
One player definitely taken there in rule of five. Really felt this could really be the day for him to really come through. But again, as Paji said, and you also mentioned, Maxwell's runs are critical. Backed him in the last game. I'll back him again. Again, while batting first, and again, he's very sure of. You've seen him bowl enough overs now to say that he's going to be a critical aspect. So runs for him or Smith will be very very critical. So you can go with any one of them in that regard. Marnus, not sure where and when he gets to bat. So Smith and Maxwell from Australia, and from Netherlands, because Van der Merwe is taken, I'll go with Paul van Meekeren, purely from the angle of using the uneven bounce aspect and being able to bowl very good lengths, and hopefully he can do the job, with the ball.
Just another bit here. Now, I'm not sure how much dew will be there in the second innings, but given Australia don't have Stoinis today, it won't be a bad call to give Marsh a few overs. He did have a couple of good games during the IPL where he was able to use the dimensions of the ground well and bowl into the pitch, especially when the pitch was slightly sticky, and get a few wickets. So he has decent enough knowledge of this venue, and he can bowl to those bigger pockets. There are a few of them, like there's one pocket which is 72 meters or something. So if there is no Stoinis, it won't be a bad idea to give Marsh the ball, especially if there is no dew and there is grip on offer. Maybe ahead of Green even.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, most of the Australian names are sort of taken up, but I just have a feeling that this can be Bas de Leede's day, because he's too good a player to
Hopefully.
continuously miss out, and he is someone who performs it on both aspects, so has higher probability of being that X factor. But let's see. I mean, time to take a few comments. Jaideep is agreeing with the delete part, although Mitchell Marsh is. I'm not sure about Mitchell Marsh. You can never be sure about Mitchell Marsh. That's the way he bats. And yeah, he's also saying that number of likes will be number of wickets RN that will get. Jaideep, we are looking at least 50 likes. So I mean, I hope he he takes 50 wickets in this year, maybe.
If Iron can do an Anil, then this watch along will blow.
Yeah, yeah, of course, 100%. Cricket is trying to pull Gurkirat's leg a bit. Maxwell will not even
Yeah.
perform 50% of UV type hype player. He's a hype player. Don't compare Maxwell as proper batter, UV and proper 10 over bowler. I mean, it is a little stretch to call UV a proper 10 over bowler, although he did it when it mattered the most.
Yeah,
Gurkirat, do you want to take this?
See, what I said was that he's probably a better bowler than Yuvraj,
Yeah.
and there's been enough evidence of it.
Hmm.
As far as a batter is concerned, it's not that Maxwell cannot bat or he's not a proper batter. It's just that he has his phases. Like he's someone who will have phases like what he had in IPL 2020, where he couldn't hit a single six in 14 T20 games. And then he'll have a phase like the 2021 IPL or the very recent IPL. I felt that with the bat, he was even better in 2021 IPL because he was scoring runs on pitches like Chennai and even on slow decks of Sharjah. So he's just a very what do you call it? Maybe he's a momentum based player, or maybe he's someone who just
Mercurial.
material he is. Maybe he just carries his forms like one. You will often see in his career that once he's gotten a score, then
Hmm.
he's just kept building on it. And once he
Hmm.
gets into a slump, he just has random brain fade. It becomes very difficult to explain. So
Hmm.
it's not that he's not a proper batter. He's a proper batter. I mean, you'd really have to. I mean, if a guy of that quality who can play the reverse sweep or the switch hit as well as he can do, to not call him a proper batter would be an insult of batsmanship. But he's just that kind of a guy. He has his good days are very good and his bad days are just very bad. It's
Hmm.
difficult to find a median for him.
balance.
Yeah. Uh, Sanjay Papyagiri is asking, Stark has not also not looked his threatening self. Do you think it's down to the pitches, or is it a genuine concern looking into the back end of the tournament? Nikhil, what do you think about this?
Yes, see, we've discussed about Stark, and the problem that bowlers like Stark have when they are looking for swing very early on, that they tend to bowl a lot more fuller. So when they go down that route, the margin of error is very less then, and you go for runs up top, which can happen with anyone. So, and again, if you see, there are a lot of new ball bowlers. Even Shine has had trouble controlling the new ball there. Again, he's also a guy who bowls predominantly a lot more full, which you compare to someone like a Bolt. He's able to hold his length back a bit, and therefore able to control the flow of runs. So I don't think it's down to pitches. It will be a concern, but maybe in terms of holding his line. But that is something that's always been there with Stark. That
Hmm.
you either remember Stark for his glory balls, or you feel that Stark is going for a lot of runs. So he's still playing a very crucial role. And today, now that he's bowling second, uh, Netherlands will hope that he's not at his best and they can get a few runs here and there to give their team a start at least today.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
also swing is independent of pitches. It is more the seam
Yeah,
movement. So, and you have to look at venues where he's bowled. In Chennai there wasn't a lot of swing available, and then when it came to playing those two games in Lucknow, both times he bowled in the afternoon, where you usually don't get a lot of swing. It was only in Bangalore where he had a chance, and I thought again, like Nikhil mentioned, he was trying to go full and find some swing available. So it didn't happen, and I think as the weather grows colder and you play at venues which have slightly cooler conditions, maybe he'll find that swing back.
Hmm. Yep. It's almost time for us to end this show. But before we do, just two important things. Gurkirat, I wanted to touch upon one bowler that we have not discussed at all in this preview, which is Adam Zampa. So, in your observation, what are the things that he's done differently in the last two games as compared to the first two? Because it has been, to quote Avnish, chalk and cheese in terms of his returns.
I feel, because I did not know this earlier, uh, maybe that spasm that he was having was probably preventing him from putting his full body into his action. Which was maybe he was, and we have seen this with bowlers. Even cricketers have spoken about this, that when once they have a injury in the lower back area or the hip area, consciously they know that they don't have to push it to an extreme. Maybe that that hip injury or that back spasm being taken care of allowed him to put more bodies into his action, because there was a different amount of zip that he was getting off the pitch in Bangalore. You just look at those wickets that he got off Iftikhar, Rizwan, and then Nawaz. The wicket
Mm.
that he got off Iftikhar was really where I felt, now Pakistan, whatever chance that Pakistan
Yeah.
had was done and dusted. And
Mm.
that was a very well constructed wicket. And it's not easy to bowl a flipper like that with control, especially if you are
Mm.
struggling with injury. So I think that spasm being sorted, or that injury, whatever was, maybe he's gotten over that, and he's putting more body into body into his ball, which is why you just felt in that game against Pakistan that he was able to bowl the deliveries where he wanted to,
Mm.
which is something again you felt even in the game versus Sri Lanka, but against the game against Pakistan, he was just spot on with where he wanted to bowl, what his plans were. Which against India, you felt that he was maybe bowling a little too short, a little too fast. Maybe he read the conditions wrong. But yeah, last two games he was really at top of his game.
Yep. And with that, I mean, we just have one more thing to do. One more thing to do before we end the preview, and that is our "Did you know" section. Just give me a moment. So, did you know? Yeah. So Netherlands have played 2 games against Australian ODIs, both in the World Cups, and both games Tim De Leede dismissed the Australian openers. Oh, so it would be a good day for Bas de Leede to replicate something similar, and maybe he can then again go on and celebrate like his father did. Yeah, I mean, very interesting. Did you know? As always, yeah, we are about minutes away. I think a minute away from the game to get started. Nikhil Gurkira, thank you so much for joining. We'll of course be back for the review show. Hopefully, let's see if Netherlands can stretch Australia a bit. If not, go over the line as well. It will actually make this World Cup even more interesting. Thanks
Pakistan and
everyone for
England
joining.
fans would be hoping for that.
Yo,
Pakistan and England fans would definitely be hoping
of
that the game is
course.
stretched.
Yeah. And yeah, how can I forget? Jaideep just reminded me that we have to do our predictions as well. So Jaideep is saying Australia 341 for 7. That's pretty specific, and he's given us Netherlands score as well. Nikhil Gurkira, before we go, predictions.
330 for Australia and then 240 for Netherlands.
Yeah, don't want to jinx it, but okay, 298 and 302.
Oh,
Oh, amazing.
Not going to happen, but yeah,
I
let's
would
see.
I would want to be on Nikhil's boat. Let's see. Vidit
Uh,
Damle has also given us his Netherlands expector Scott Edwards. So a lot of players to look
yes.
forward to. Almost time for the first ball. So see you guys in about 8 hours time. Have a good day.
Cheers.